Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear students of 12th class boys higher secondary school Nagri, dear students, we have started a new question in our yesterday's lecture, that is the cross pollination, and we have defined this cross pollination. And before this cross pollination, we have also discussed the self pollination. Regarding this cross-pollination, it involves the transfer of pollen grains from the flower of one plant to the stigma of flower of another plant. And we have defined it yesterday also. So you should remember that cross-pollination involves the transfer of pollen grains from the flower of one plant to the stigma of different plant or another plant. It is also called xenogamy, or it can also be called allogamy. Now today we will throw light upon the conditions favoring this cross pollination. What are the conditions that favor this cross pollination, which are favorable for this cross pollination? The first condition which favors this cross-pollination is the herkogamy, Herkogamy, herkogamy. So what is this herkogamy? Here in this case, flowers possess some mechanical barrier on their stigma to avoid self-pollination. So what is this herkogamy? Here, the flowers have some mechanical barrier on their stigma which doesn't allow pollen grains to sit upon that to bring about the pollination, and in this way cross pollination is affected. In this way self pollination is affected, and it then thus favors the cross pollination. So it is called the herkogamy. So here you should remember that some mechanical barrier is found on the stigma of the flower which avoids self-pollination and favors cross-pollination. The second condition is the dichogamy or dichogamy. So what is this dichogamy? In this case, pollen and stigma of the flower mature at different times to avoid self-pollination. So in dichogamy, pollen grains and the stigma, they mature at different times. When they mature at different times, pollination can be affected. So when this pollen and the stigma of the flower mature at different times, the self-pollination is affected and cross-pollination is favored. It is of two types. This dichogamy can be of two types. One is the protoandry. In the protoandry condition, androecium matures and shed pollen before gynoecium. So when the androecium matures first and shed its pollen before the gynoecium, this affects the self-pollination and helps the cross-pollination. This protoandry can be found in a plant which is called the maize. So maize can be the example of protoandry. One more type of this dichogamy is the protogyny. So what is this protogyny? Here, when gynoecium matures earlier than androecium, so you see in protoandry, androecium matures before gynoecium, but in protogyny, gynoecium matures earlier than androecium and thus favors the cross-pollination. This protogyny can be found in a plant called bajra or the aristolochia, etc. Now the third condition which favors the cross pollination is the self-incompatibility. Self-incompatibility. In this case, in self-incompatibility, mature pollen grains of some flowers fall on the receptive stigma of the same flower but fail to bring about self-pollination. So in self-incompatibility, mature pollen grains fall on the receptive stigma of the same flower. That means both the male and female organs are found on the same flower, but the pollen grains fall on the receptive stigma of the same flower, but they do not bring about the self-pollination, and in this way cross-pollination is favored. Such plants show cross-pollination. One more condition is the male sterility. Male sterility. So what is this male sterility? Here the pollen grains of some plants are not functional. So here what happens to pollen grains? The pollen grains of some plants are not functional. That means they are not capable to bring about the pollination. So in male sterility, pollen grains of some plants are not functional. Such plants set seeds only after cross-pollination. One more condition is the dioecium. तो dioecium में क्या है? Such plants bear unisexual flowers and are dioecious. Dioecious means male and female flowers occur on separate plants. When the male and female flowers occur on separate plants, self-pollination is affected, while as cross-pollination is favored. Example you can quote here, papaya and cucurbita. One more condition is the heterostyly. 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 The heterostyly is the condition which also favors the cross-pollination. So what is this heterostyly condition? In the heterostyly condition, the flowers of some plants have different lengths of stamens and styles. So in heterostyly condition, flowers of some plants have different lengths of stamens and styles to avoid self-pollination. When the lengths of stamens and styles are different, they do not favor the self-pollination, and in this way cross-pollination is favored. So in heterostyly, the flowers of some plants have different lengths of stamens and styles to avoid self-pollination. Example you can quote Primula linum. Primula, Primula linum, linum, linum. Primula linum is a plant in which this heterostyly condition is found. So this was all about today's lecture, and you have seen that the conditions which are favorable for the cross-pollination. We have discussed these conditions like hercogamy, dichogamy, protogyny, protoandry, self-incompatibility, male sterility, dioecium, and heterostyly. So this was all about today's lecture. I hope that you have understood this question very much, and if any kind of difficulty you will find in understanding these conditions or this today's topic, you can call me on my WhatsApp number, or you can comment on this today's topic. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you very much.